Welcome to the Fireside. Today's theme, as mentioned here, is Human-centric Decentralization. And I guess I'll start with a question to Dado is, what is Human-centric Decentralization and why do we believe that this is the path forward? Big question there.
I don't want it to sound ridiculous, but it's all about giving the power to the people, right? Yeah, this thing that's been trying to happen for at least 3 centuries. So if we gotta understand why are we talking about this, we gotta first talk about centralization in modern decentralized networks, right? Which are not really decentralized.
True. Actually, we had some interesting numbers there. Victor might want to share some of those numbers on how, quote unquote, decentralized some of these networks are.
Yeah, sure. Well, people say that Bitcoin is a really decentralized network because it has a lot of nodes, B, a lot of miners all over the world who set up their equipment. Well, I would say that having a lot of nodes is cool for data availability, but it is more like saying that Microsoft is decentralized because their operating system is everywhere in the world on each computer. And if we talk about like miners, usually that's people who just come there for money. They usually have no idea how not only Bitcoin works or blockchain, but they have no idea how decisions are made in the network, because actual decisions are always made by mining pools who tell people what software they should have and how they should update it in order to stay in the mining pool and still earn their money. And if we're talking about mining pools, well, in Bitcoin, it's 5 mining pools with 55% of the network. Well, 3 years ago, it was just 3 pools, so it's improving little by little. And in Ethereum, the situation is even worse. It's just 3 of them who control over 50%.
I mean, you could try and argue that miners are actually voting for mining pools with their mining power because they can just unplug and plug to another one. But the thing is that most of the mining power on those mining pools is very loyal to the mining pools because it's their own companies. And I guess if you dig deep enough, you'll learn that mining pools are kind of owned by the same people at the end. But yeah, basically centralization in proof of stake and proof of work networks, even biggest ones, is a very hurtful thing for blockchain industry as a whole, because we're making all this asset exchanges and state-of-the-art decentralized finance applications built on notion of decentralization. But how can a thing be decentralized if a means to control it is a centralized plutocratic entity? I guess it's a core problem that hasn't been properly addressed yet.
So going back to, in a sense, our solution, or I wouldn't necessarily say it's our solution, but our attempt at a solution is, one person, one biometric identity equals one node equals one vote. So that, one person can't have too much power and everybody has an equal voice. Obviously, there will be situations, with populism, and people will be for, I guess, like in any political scene anywhere in the world, there will be groups formed, and certain people will vote with certain groups, and many things may happen in the future, but I guess we're at least starting with a clean slate here, hoping to give more power to the people. So, I mean, David, when was it that, or why was it that you came to this conclusion back in, what was it, 2017, that you felt that this was absolutely something that we needed to attain?
I mean, even if you just compare how the power is decentralized in Bitcoin and Ethereum, you would understand that even the Fed, right, is more decentralized than most of the networks. I would say even all of them, because they consist of 12 banks, and those banks are owned by some very rich families. And there's at least like 500 to 700 families owning them, and which makes them really decentralized, if you think about it. And the Fed is working in a system, a democratic system, where like your mandate to vote is equal to your citizenship, right? If you're a citizen of like the United States, you have a vote, which equals to one, and you can vote for whatever stuff you want. And proof of stake and proof of work systems are not built that way. They don't give you a mandate to vote according to your rights as a biological being. They don't. They assess only mining power and the amount of money that you have staked inside the system. So, first of all, it was not just about biometrics, but about understanding how can we make it possible so that um, one person has one vote, um, can be done somehow else, so that one person is not able to spawn more than one node. That was really the challenge, and biometrics are just a mean to achieve it.
So, I mean, obviously, this will continue to be work in progress as we move forward. Um, what challenges do you think? I mean, let's forget about all the technical challenges that we'll face along the way. You know, uh, trying to keep proper civil defense, and somehow try to fight corruption in the way. What challenges do you see we're facing, and do you see how we are operating as the answer, or path to the answer, or how far do you think the path ahead will be?
I mean, as you just stated, right? We're focusing on delivering like equality of voting to people that will consist in Humanode DAO, or DAOs built on top of Humanode, for whichever reason. But it doesn't mean that all the problems connected to the democratic systems themselves just fade away, right? Talking about corruption itself, uh, corruption is not just a technological problem, it's a problem that consists and grows out of many factors, from execution power, I mean executive power, morals, the amount of money received by the governing entities. A lot of things affected, and just transitioning people to understand that equality of voting is a very important tool in understanding how we form decentralized networks. For exchanging assets is it's not going to solve those problems. And for example, a problem like populism, right? Which is mostly dependent on the development of social media. and how people can just persuade other people to vote for them for no reason. These problems, they just don't fade away. You'll have to ban the whole media and be really autocratic to try and fight it. But yeah.
So just out of curiosity, I know this is just brainstorming here, but what means do we have to how shall I put it, make this, a better social experience or experiment, shall we say? I mean, obviously, as we move forward and um, the numbers, this sheer numbers of people who get involved in governance, rises. Some of the problems will obviously go away. Some of the problems will probably intensify. But I'm just trying to think what. I mean, it's obvious that we need people to be part of this. We need people to be involved and, in a sense, take ownership of Humanode as we move forward. I mean, obviously, as we mentioned in other talks, we have the concept of co-ownership, where, what benefits are born on this network will be reaped equally amongst those who participate in the network. So, I mean, you will be getting ownership as in a sense of benefits, but how do we encourage ownership in sense of putting forward your work towards this, or devotion, or uh, simply voting? What means we have to encourage this? How can we get people really involved in this?
You're actually touching upon the question of voters' apathy, right?
Yeah.
The thing about most of the democratic societies of modern days is they actually try to make everyone vote, and they try to calculate every citizen that is coming or living in their society, which is kind of plays into hand of those who are trying to manipulate numbers for their own reasons. Because like actively governing minority versus like a majority of people who don't want to vote is like makes a governing system much more healthy, because they're less prone to be affected by some, sorry for my French, bullshit from the media, right? If you're like a professional political scientist with knowledge of history, knowledge of politology and stuff like this, some sound bites, some banners or promises of a better future won't really affect your opinion on things. You use your own head to kind of govern stuff. So the thing I'm trying to say is that there's like a thing called quorum, right? And really like is really a very crucial part of any democratic system, of how this quorum is gathered. And in Humanode DAO that we call Vortex, for example, we calculate only actively governing people. Like, if you're not governing actively and you haven't been meeting governing requirements for previous periods of governance, then you don't get to vote. Or no, you can vote, but if you don't, you won't be calculated for quorum. And only those who were actively governing before will be calculated in the quorum to get a proposal accepted or declined. And that's like, I think it's a very important thing in any governing system. Like, don't give a vote to those who don't want to vote. But if they want to, they can come and vote. That's the thing.
Just to summarize, yeah, it's like fighting two problems here. First one is populism, and when you make everybody obliged to vote, that's what happens, because people don't want to, and they just go after the easiest and the most shiny authority that they found and go vote because they have to. And the other thing is voter apathy is not a problem when your system is prepared for the fact that most of the people don't have enough knowledge or motivation to vote.
So, let's actually, we're just about a little past 15 minutes in. Before we move forward, if anybody wants to ask any questions here concerning this topic, please raise your hand, and we'd like to accept any questions or thoughts at this stage. And don't be shy. I guess we have a very shy crowd today.
Yeah.
So, Victor, when you're first, talking with Dado here, talking about the issue of centralized, decentralized networks, what were the, initial thoughts going through your mind when you first came up with the idea of creating a truly one person or one node, one vote system?
Well, that's actually a question for Dato. I was in the same room that day, but it wasn't me.
Oh, I mean, when obviously Dado thought of it as like, hey, Victor, what about this?
Oh, what were my
like that?
The thoughts were, yeah, it's totally the way that how we should live perfectly someday in the future. That was the first thoughts of myself.
No, you see, like, it just if you try to analyze how proposals are made in modern decentralized networks, like for example, if you're trying to like be a part of Ethereum core and you're trying to propose some changes, right, some things, you gotta go. If you're a newbie, you won't really like have anything to say. People won't even listen to you properly because there's like a disconnection between those who have access to Ethereum updates, right, and those who actually write the code, and everyone else. Like if you're just a node holder or miner, well, your voice doesn't really necessarily mean anything. And there's like a core team of people working on stuff and updating it for everybody else. What if, for example, somebody just says, "Oh, we don't need a transition to POS," and there's like disconnection between the code and the governing entity. There's like if a governing entity decides something, it happens because it has access to it, not because there's like a mechanism that calculates the democratic consensus between people and executes it regardless of what some people think. It just doesn't work that way. The same thing about Bitcoin. It's just some people have the access to repos, some people don't, and there's like a multi-signature divided among pools and people, and they just decide either to upgrade or not. And
yeah, and just few companies really working on those upgrades who have been long in the Bitcoin community and who have that trust to get funded to create those hardcore updates.
and because of that, because of this, right? What is true is that actually Bitcoin and Ethereum are both proof of authorities, and proof of stake and proof of work is just a beautiful cover on a cake, right? Full of very bad things. because you're just giving your money or mining equipment to let the network run, but you don't have a say in it. Coming with a solution or coming with a fully ready proposal is not the same thing as actually brainstorming and working on governance. It's a totally different thing, right? Where you're like working in groups, you're discussing stuff, you're having debates, you're like achieving consensus on a daily basis through hard political work. And other thing is just when you just create a proposal and just bring it to the table and people gotta vote. So proof of stake and proof of work systems are built like the second type that I just described, not the first one.
Mhm.
And a proper democratic system should be working as the first type that I described.
So I guess it might be good, although I'm quite sure many here have gone over previous firesides or have read material. But Dado, could you briefly kind of explain the government structure, the DAO structure uh, of Humanode that was designed to, as I say, help uh, combat the issues and assist in bringing better proposals, shall I say, to the table?
Well, yeah, we have like a system consisting of different tiers of governors, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we have extensively covered in the Vortex podcast. So I don't think that I should probably go over it again.
Just very briefly. But
I mean, there's like a tier system which opens up to governors as they govern with like every month they have a governing requirement that they have to meet. And
Mhm.
there's like 4 different tiers. First one is reached automatically when you just start governing. The second one is reached in 1 year. The third one in 2 years. The fourth one in 4 years. And there's also like this proof of time, which I just described, and proof of devotion. So to reach some tiers, you got to do some stuff on chain, either participate in the projects in the ecosystem or make a proposal to the Vortex that was accepted. And the tiers don't give you any additional voting power. Your power remains always equal to 1. What it gives you is the ability to make more crucial proposals. So like tier 1, which we call citizen, has the ability to make product proposals, and tier 4, which we call consul, is probably able to create monetary policies and protocol changes as well as DAO changes. So that way we're kind of making sure that the most active people that have contributed the most time and they've worked and hard to meet all the governing requirements, and at the same time they made a proposal which was accepted. It's a lot of hard work. That's what I mean. So we make sure that those people get like the ability to make the most crucial proposals, and that's how the system is built now. But we are already creating something new that we think will be a perfect solution for modern democratic systems. But I
Mhm.
will not say anything about it at this time.
Okay. So basically, the whole concept behind the tier systems is that as um, the more devotion you have, or the more you've worked with the system, within the system, trying to improve it, of course, your understanding of the system itself is, or the issues that you're tackling are much greater. And thus, um, in a sense, you're able to speak with, I'm not sure if authority is the right word, but with at least more insight on how such proposals and decisions will make in the entire ecosystem. So instead of having somebody walk in saying, okay, here's $1 billion, I now own 30% of the company or 50% of the company, therefore this is how we're going to do it. This is more of a on-hands people working from grassroots up, trying to shape the system to fit the needs of the community.
The thing about Shen, that this governing system is not really rewarding, so to speak, because you're spending your time, you're spending your your intelligence and devotion working, hard, but you're not getting more money for it, and neither you're getting any more voting power for it. You're just kind of spending your own resources, but what you get is like an ability to make more crucial decisions, and it's like it's more of a strain than a rewarding system, really. But I guess governing systems should be in the hands of those who wish to govern, not for money or for stuff they receive officially. They just want to govern because they want to make the system better, and they want the governance to be more democratic. So yeah, basically Vortex is built on those principles, not really rewarding.
Well, in a sense, I mean, any type of community building, the rewards aren't necessarily, direct monetary rewards for your work, but it is often as the community gets better, things in general get better, which, although it's a lot of work, as a whole community becomes more rewarding. So, yeah, I guess one of the challenges, shall we say, I don't know. Actually, I don't even know if this will be a challenge. It really depends on uh, how many people really will sync with this type of thought process. I believe it's more common than we believe, but um, it really depends on how many people really want to uh, make this blossom to its full potential versus people who want just how shall I say, immediate financial gain or control. So, but getting those people who can contribute to contribute and get more and more involved, I guess, will be one of the larger challenges, especially for um, those of us that are not really into coding, wanting to show how good our coding ability is.
Also, it is interesting to state that, for example, in 4 years' time, right? Like anyone in this chat, really, if you go on for 4 years straight, you'll have the same rights as Victor and I do, basically. That's our gradual decentralization, because we as founders, right, as a core team, have the ultimate right to create anything in Humanode at the moment, as we have spent quite some time and effort, and proven our dedication to the project. But I mean, with each year, Humanodes and governors who become the part of the network will have more and more rights, and they'll have more voting rights as well to propose things that we will not be able to outrule as founders. And I mean, consuls that will be born in 4 years of governance will have the same voting and proposal rights as we do. Yeah.
Well, in a sense, I mean, that's for me, that is what I would want. I mean, I've been in positions where I've had to be in the leadership role, and in corporate entities and in other NPO and entities. And once you reach that higher tier, I mean, yes, monetary gains is nice, and if you're getting money for it, but otherwise, your biggest dream is to get people who can share the responsibility, work side by side, and hopefully one day pass it on and let them do the hard work where you try to kick back a little.
Yeah, and I want to say that it's always really disappointing for a founder, and that's the case for probably 99% of the companies. When the founder quits the company, it's almost always the end of it. And of course, every founder wants like his, in our case, network to be eternal, which is impossible without dedicated and devoted people who believe in the same values and principles.
True, and more people to carry forward the work. I mean, obviously the need for a decentralized financial platform is growing by the day, as the world is becoming smaller and smaller. And the economic realities and whatever changes. I mean, I know this is totally off topic, but last week I was visiting my folks, and a dear family friend was in dire straits because basically he had just lost his wife. He was an American living in Japan, like me. He had just lost his wife and had to bury her. And in order to get enough money for the funeral and to uh, buy a tombstone and whatnot, he had to transfer some of his funds from his US account to his Japanese bank account. And because of the new quote unquote money laundering laws in Japan, every little bit of money coming in and going out of the Japanese banking system is scrutinized tremendously. And although he sent money to his bank account, the bank would not release the money to him until he provided them with absolute proof of why he needed that money. And it wasn't a lot. It was something like $10,000, but he had to prove every cent of what this money was going to be spent for and why he needed to withdraw this money. So I had to go with him to the bank, for translation, and basically say, okay, this is for the coffin, this is for the transfer of the body, this is for the funeral, and you guys, you have to pry into this person's life and sorrows, and decide if his reasoning is good enough for him to withdraw his own money. But anyway, I mean, through this experience, I mean, of course, he is saying there's got to be a better way to um, be able to go beyond the centralized bank systems and the walls that each country is creating now involving finance. And since he knew that I was working on the Humanode project, he was like, okay, tell me, when are you guys going to go live? Because I think this will be a much better solution. Well, any cryptocurrency right now is probably a better solution than the current banking solutions. But I'm just going through this brief experience, and I know this really doesn't have much to do with today's talk, but the conviction that new platforms, new financial platforms for uh, a world that is a lot closer than the borders that we have is truly necessary. and hopefully it is a system that will be controlled by actual human beings that are trying to work to make this place a little better rather than just for corporate gains or uh, specific needs of a few people in a specific country. So, and I don't know how. I know there's a lot of elements involved. There's going to be exchanges. There's going to be a lot of regulatory issues coming up in the future, but it's my hope that we can turn the system into a system where we'll actually be able to use this platform wherever we go in the world, whenever we want to, for our own needs, and not have to worry about people saying, "Oh, no, sorry, you can't use your Humanode today. Humanode has gone against Starbucks, so Starbucks is no longer accepting Humanode coins."
Well, this will certainly happen one day.
So, I guess I'm going to open the floor again to some questions, comments, whatever. I mean, somebody's here. I'm sure somebody has a question or a comment or some thoughts. Feel free to raise your hand and we shall unmute. Or I could just randomly choose someone.
Yeah, that's how you will fight voter apathy, Shannon.
For example, let's see, just for fun. Edward, are you here today?
Hi guys, yeah, I'm here. So it's nice joining this is my first fire chat. So I enjoy the conversation that's going on. Maybe some comments and some further inquiry from what Dato and Victor has spoken about regarding the way governance work. So I think reading through the white paper of Humanode, I can say that it's one of the better written white papers. So it's quite long, and then the part about the vertex especially is very detailedly laid out. So I think when it comes to implementing it, the direction is also very clear. So good job on that so far for the team. Maybe I'd like to ask, like, what you see, like one or two key points. I mean, this is open to Dato or Victor, that the way DAOs in general are managing their membership or treasury, that Vertex specifically would like to improve upon. Maybe just give some general comments. Thank you.
Well, treasury is an interesting question. Yeah. Control of the money flow of the DAO. Actually, what will be happening with the vortex? I think it will be one of the first experiments. Because, usually in our governments, we have a special bureaucratic authority to elect it, to go over treasury, to control it. And in current proof-of-stake networks, well, there are treasuries of Cosmos and Polkadot that really distribute a lot of tokens to those who propose, and they are of course controlled by the stakers. And frankly speaking, the experiment that we will be doing, where the treasury is controlled by all people equally, will be something absolutely new. Edward, are you explicitly asking about the problems that we might face or how it will change the situation? Well, it will change the situation dramatically, almost completely. But what will happen, it's even hard to model in the mind, you know. I don't have any examples in the history of how it was done before. Probably if we look at the, at some of the smaller communities, there was usually either an authority or an authority chosen by one person, one vote. For example, in the tribes, this was usually the person who everybody thought was managing money in the most efficient manner. But overall, that's a great question. What do you think yourself about that? Or Shannon, any comments on it?
Well, let's go with Edward. Edward, any comments?
I haven't looked really deeply into the way DAOs are managed, so I personally have not have a ton of experience with DAOs. Like
Well,
only a few.
right now it's pretty simple. It's just your stake, and you vote by your stake. In most cases, you have to have 66% of all stakers to reach a quorum. And that's when you approve that the money should be transferred. And then there is a multi-sig contract controlled either by those main validators, or if it's the bootstrapping period of the network, it's controlled by key figures creating the protocol. So in our case, it will be different. And of course, there will be special, security triggers so that the democratic voting of thousands of people won't waste money on marketing only to promote the price of the coin.
Dato, I know you need to step out shortly to go and shoot some targets, an archery contest, I believe. But before you go, do you have any other comments that you'd like to, or thoughts that you'd like to leave the community here with?
Yeah, there's like one last thing that I wanted to say is that probably the biggest difference is that even in a like country-based democratic societies, it's not actually you participating in consensus. It's actually your state ID, right? You could be anyone. I myself kind of participated into exams for my friends using their like IDs, which is I mean this sort of stuff. And the difference is that in Humanode, it's you biologically. It's like it's you biometrically. It's not your state ID, and that's a very big difference. When we're trying to gather a quorum, or not just fake IDs, but real biometrically proven human beings. And that should really be a big difference and change in voting systems as a whole.
Well, I mean, obviously, because you are voting with or for or against, real identities, not armies of clones, not big pools of money. So it truly gives the chance for people to really, how shall I say, execute their power that they will have as actually having a voice and actually having a vote that only they can, in a sense, put forward. So.
Oh, by the way, Edward, coming back to your question, I've got some ideas on how the current treasury management in the proof of stake networks, which I assume will never really move to the human-centric model that we're building here, but they could improve their own model with human-centric decentralization of its pods. For the treasury, it would be cool if, of course, the treasury will be controlled by the main stakeholders. But it would be cool for them to compare and to let people signal their own thoughts in one person, one vote scheme on how the treasury should be distributed to find out if there is a severe discrepancy between how the majority of people think when they vote like one human, one vote, and how the top validators think. Because if you look at the distribution of power and proof of stake networks, in some of them you will find that it takes just two entities to decide on where the funds go.
Yeah, thanks for answering that, Victor. I think what Humanode is trying to achieve is coming from a very unique perspective, which is using a lot of AI to determine the liveness and that the person is really a person. Because, like, for example, in a lot of Ethereum projects, one person can own a few ENS domains, and even now with the pseudonymous economy, let's say somebody own 10 10 ENS, and then he can just and also he has a lot of capital, he can just vote himself. But then Humanode solve this kind of problem. So yeah, looking forward.
Yeah, cool idea with the domains.
Okay, so we're down to having 11 minutes left in today's Fireside. And at this point, if possible, I'd like to invite anybody and everybody to speak up. And if you could just do our usual and unmute everybody here. And if anybody has any extra comments, questions, now's the time to speak up. And let's see, who has the power to do that? Well,
I failed.
You failed. Okay, so
Yeah.
so I have, I think Dato needs to do that. Unfortunately, Dato is going to go out and shoot some targets. I'm assuming he's shooting targets today. He said it was an archery contest. But well, in any case, we're at this point where we're just going to, in a sense, end today's topic pretty soon and open the floor up to whatever. But Victor, I guess in closing remarks, is there anything else that you would like to share concerning human-centric decentralization?
Let me think about it. Well, just everybody who listens to us right now or later on our YouTube, I would like you to think how it may change the space. And as usually, we're still scoring a new use case every week. And soon we'll be creating a special topic on our forum. I would like you once someday in the morning, standing in the shower, singing your favorite songs, you will come up with any idea of how this approach of decentralization can change things around you or in our decentralized, I mean, not so right now, but in the future, more decentralized space. Please reach out to us.
Yes, and since I was unable to unmute people's mics here, if you do have any comments or questions, do feel free to type it out in the Humanode hub, and we'll be more than happy to answer. But also, just one more reminder here is that it looks like people are being unmuted. Wonderful. Okay, so just one more reminder here. If you would like us to discuss any certain topics, if you're interested in hearing more about a specific, area of Humanode, for example, what are the guys doing when it comes to cryptography? How is cryptography evolving? Or if you want more talk about liveness detection, or more about the DAO, or anything in general, please ask questions or make suggestions towards us. Just write it down. I mean, right now we do have this Telegram channel, so feel free to suggest themes and topics here, or people you would like to hear from. We'd be more than happy to invite people onto this program to have some lively discussions here. So, yes. Good, yes. Just got one comment saying cryptography would be great, and actually that is a very hot topic right now. We have our cryptography team working tirelessly around the clock, trying to, how shall I say, find better ways to encrypt the biometric data. And one of the videos that I'll be doing soon, actually the video after this next one, will be on cryptography. But be more than happy to actually bring on some of the cryptographers into this program. We also have them talk about Humanode and cryptography. So please look forward to that.
Yeah, in short, our cryptobiometric team is making real progress lately and experimenting on how to process the biometric data and how to check that's a real human being in front of the camera in a completely mathematically proven secure way without losing a lot of accuracy. And the results that we had just today on our experiments were really astonishing. We were all shocked.
Yep. So I think it would be a good good timing, actually. Maybe the next Fireside, or the Fireside after that. Bring Rafa on the show and get him to spill his beans a little bit and talk about cryptography.
Yeah, just came up with a little off top, but a contest for, not a contest, just a poll for our community. So as we're having more and more use cases that we're filing internally, would be great, to post the polls to the community. What do they think about that particular use case? How crucial is it for our industry or not? Because there are over 10 of them already. What do you think, Shannon?
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, Humanode is all about really getting the community involved and actually, handing this whole project over to the community. Of course, uh, we are part of the community, but um, really having this turn into a true community project. So yeah, I
Yep.
mean let's
Just looking for people who will take our power.
It's like, please take our power, carry us forward. So yeah, I mean, it'd be great. Create some polls and start seeing how people, what people think about the various use cases, and I mean, obviously, we're going to have to decide on what projects will take priority. So gauging interest would be good.
Yep, we don't want to base it only on capitalization of those projects, but on the real value we're bringing there. Actually, there's a lot of, so to say, integration, integration development coming right now, talking to different companies. So if you are one of those, it's time to come to us in advance so that we would design our system for a particular use case together with you.
Yep. And once again, thank you everybody for joining this fireside. Our time is about up here. So I think this will be it for today. And I hope to see you next time too. And yes, when you post those polls, don't hesitate to vote on them.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, everybody. Special thanks to Edward today for joining our talk, and see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, see you in 2 weeks. Once again, thank you all.